Hello, so my name is Zachary Miller. My sinuses are a little messed up right now, so if it's difficult to understand me, I apologize about that, but I'll try to be as clear as possible. So my topic for my capstone, I wanted to focus on consumerism and I wanted to focus on really the illusion of choice as a consumer. And when I say that, people say, well, what does that mean? I feel like I get to choose between what I want, different things along those lines. So, in a lot of cases, we'll label something. Like, for example, I have water bottles right next to me. Okay, so here's Kirkland purified water, and here's Deer Park. Okay, now the reality is, I don't know if these two are coming from a separate source, or if not the same. They both say spring water. I don't know. But if you really want to follow the paper trail and see where each company gets the water from, you could figure it out. As a whole, they usually pull from a similar source, or they have kind of a supply chain to where the resources are actually held by usually central entities, and different businesses pull from them. I did, in particular, I did one article that I was writing about that I've known for a while, which is about telecommunications, so cell phone services. And actually, Alexander Graham Bell, the one that designed and created the first telephone, he owns a lot of subsets and a lot of companies from under his original patent because he has the rights to the telephone. So AT&T, Verizon, all these different brands that you see is really just different marketing fronts. And they're not actually a separate business per se. So I wanted to focus and hit my 3 points on really why is that something that happens, and how can it be avoided, I guess. Um, I see it as creating social norms. It really drives consumer choices in the middle to lower class more than it does the upper class. Because when you have a cluttered, I won't say mind, but when you have a cluttered lifestyle, as in, you have to make ends meet, you have to go to do these things, your mind doesn't have a lot of ability to free up and think outside of what you're being shown or told to do. Um, which we can blame poverty, we can blame a bunch of different things for those reasons to occur. But as a whole, those social norms are usually instituted or created, which brings me to my second, point about social media. I One of my resources that I used was one of the articles was titled "Instagram Made Me Do It." So not literally, no one put a gun to your head and made you do it, but there's a lot of people out in society from all age groups, all demographics that engage with social media or social platforms, that have an issue with breaking free from trends and habits of what they see other people doing and being able to differentiate that for themselves. That becomes a very, very difficult problem to solve in society, because if I can control masses, which is what the businesses are after, being able to basically throw something out there. For example, Travis Scott, a local rapper, created the Travis Scott burger collaboration with McDonald's. And people actually went to McDonald's to buy his burger just because he endorsed it. Now, me being a marketing guy and knowing how these things go, I'm kind of like, bro, like that was clearly a marketing ploy. They labeled someone that you would like to listen to or that you do listen to, and they wanted you to go buy the burger at McDonald's because he said that's what he gets. I was so confused. I was like, you guys actually knew they were marketing to you on this particular case, and you still went and bought it. So it really just goes to show people are so entrenched with trying to be collective. They want to be, like other people, and they have an issue because they don't really know or haven't seen themselves, because it's always a positioning of how do I stack up. It's a hierarchy in this world, and it's just is what it is. Um, so I touched on, like I said, my first point was kind of that it's not uncommon for one supplier to supply for multiple businesses, and usually they just keep that as an NDA. No one really knows about it. Creating social norms definitely drive, more for the middle to lower class than the upper class, because the upper class is usually the type of people who create the marketing ploys and the marketing campaigns to kind of get, I guess, lower middle class people to spend their money. There's a statistic, and I don't want to butcher it or misquote it or anything. I can't remember exactly the numbers, but it was something like 70%. 70%, the lowest, I think it was like the bottom 20% earners spend 70% of the consumer dollars for different goods and things along those lines. But yeah, so that was really about it when it comes down to my 3 points. In their stretch, to the limit, when it comes down to all the different angles you can move them around and play with. But as a whole, I think the driving social culture, I think basically not people not knowing, profit margins and things along those lines, and not understanding that there is usually just a couple businesses that own the majority of the resources that people do have to pull from. And they did that intentionally. They kind of, locked up the market and made it to where if you don't come through them, then you don't have access to it. So it's always going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 businesses that people are pulling from. And you'll start seeing more collaborations as more expand and they get bigger and bigger in the future. But just something that I really felt like hasn't been spoken about, hasn't been talked about, and I feel like a lot of people should know. But I thank you for listening, and I appreciate it.